Had to clean that off. Okay. Hey. Let's just clear some stuff up here. Give me a sec, guys, to get myself all reconnoitered here so that we can have a good hang. Still just logo. Well, it isn't now. I'm looking at it. Yeah. Oh, boy, guys, sorry. And you can hear me, right? Because I got no audio. I'm mute here. Make sure you guys can hear me. Nope, I heard myself. I know it's playing. Sorry, guys. Sorry about all that. I don't know what happened. We don't want to spend our whole time together going over the technical issues. I started the stream like I always do. I'm looking at myself on my phone here, moving. It says live. There's a little countdown thing saying that I'm live. And then I go over to the laptop, which is where I watch the chat a little more detailed and whatnot. I'm going to stop gesturing with my hands because, as you can see, this camera is not as good as the iPhone camera, and I just made it choke a bit when I move my hands too much. So I don't know what that was. So I'll look into that like when we're done here today. Anyway, good morning, Mark. Good morning. Sorry, and people that just joined us, we had a bit of a tech issue. I've been working on it I went live at like 9:32. So for 20 minutes, I was trying to fix that. All right. So sorry about that. We're on the old laptop's camera today, the laptop's microphone. I know you can hear me because I already checked. I know you can see me, but I can't do a lot of hand gestures. Not that I normally do. Like I trained myself to look at this green light, and there was a hand gesture. See, already. And I look what I did. And then I looked at my playback, and it kind of a few seconds. I gotta only move like this. I played a song and everything, man. I played a song. I did a song that wasn't really appropriate. I wanted to play The Real Me by The Who off of Quadrophenia because of the topic I wanted to chat about today. And because I like that song. But then I realized the way I learned it was really complex, and I learned it on my electric guitar. And I may try to do it tomorrow night at Beer and Songs, but I wasn't up for hacking my way through the chords this morning, if I can quote Mr. Townsend. And I sung Mother instead for some reason from Pink Floyd. I don't know why I thought that'd be a happy little song, but we're not going to do it. Mother, should I run for president? And then there I go singing it. Okay, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, December 6th, 2022. I'm in the backyard, finally getting through some tech issues. Just want to chat with you guys about various things going on in my world and things I can share in your world. You can talk to me here on the chat if you want. If you're watching over at Patreon, I believe I finally fixed the Patreon post to point you to this video. I'm afraid to go back and check. I have to go back and check, guys. Hang on, let's make sure. Yeah, it's playing. Okay, you have to hit the, who am I talking to again? You got to hit the playhead if you're over there, the little arrow. And every time I touch the laptop for the next few minutes, as you just saw, everything's going to move. Our whole world's going to move because I'm a laptop. Hey, there's my ladies. Yeah. Cool. She was with you? Oh, no, she wasn't with you. Cool. We got a good bill of health on. So it's a cool, I gotta stop the hand gestures. I gotta get used to that. See, let's make that what the video's about today, about tech issues and how I have to change how I do things. I thought of getting out all the gear like I do for like the nighttime streams, the more professionally produced ones. But I didn't want to do that. The phone's camera is way better. If you're getting into streaming, guys, this is your best camera. It's never this. Okay, so it is a little chilly this morning, a little cool. It made me think about being cool. What is being cool? Okay, what is being cool? What does that mean? Now, those of us that are a certain in plaid and beanie, that's all that matters. Okay, cool. Those of us of a certain age, remember Fonzie? remember Fonzie, played by Henry Winkler, now of Barry and some other and Arrested Development fame. Good actor. I guess he went to Princeton or Yale. People don't. I was surprised to find that out too, or something like that. And played Arthur Fonzarelli. The Fonz. The Fonz was the school for kids born in late 60s. Kids that got to watch Happy Days. I apologize about any pixelation or bad images. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to stop talking about the tech unless I crash completely, in which case I'll be talking to no one. So I guess I'm going to stop talking about the tech. So for a lot of us, that was cool, whatever that meant. Now, Fonzie was never excitable. He was always mellow, and of course, later on, brought up as a way of not being excitable and to stay mellow in an environment with a lot of guns involved. If you watched Pulp Fiction, because what does Jules tell the girl to be? We're all going to be cool. We're all going to be a bunch of Fonzies. I'm going to watch the video over here on the production page. It's funny, my production playback screen looks immaculate, but the actual video, as it's coming back to the house, like maybe half a second later through the internet tubes, it gets blurry and glitchy. What are you going to do about it? So for of a certain generation, we had a really nice demonstration of what that meant, of what cool meant. And it was Fonzie. And it was that idea of not getting too angry, not getting too upset. I could try that. Hey, no, I just closed my playback screen. I don't need that. It's because my computer is choking on producing that much video, I guess. Hopefully you're not doing that at your house, so I probably look better to your computers. And that was a good definition. Having Arthur Fonzarelli in our life, all the girls liked him. He could, going back to Clay's comment there, he would, bang the jukebox without putting a quarter in, just give it a hit, just the right spot, and it would start to play. And in the early seasons of Happy Days, that was Arthur Fonzarelli's thing. He was cool and had a few abilities, superhuman, one could argue, abilities that would just kind of came and went. No big deal. It was a comedy show. Don't take it seriously. By the end, it got a little ridiculous. If you watch the origins of the character Mork from Ork, you know what I'm talking about. Where I think there was a moment where Mork and Fonzie were having like a shooting gallery with, I guess, Potsy or Ralph Mouth walking back and forth. And of course, Mork was using, I can't remember what Robin Williams was doing with his hand, but something like, vroom, vroom, vroom. And of course, Fonzie was going, snap his finger, snap his finger, snap. And that would be, and of course, that's where Jump the Shark came from. Right. The show got a little ridiculous at the end, which is because Happy Days was a great show. It was probably, well, it was the classic 3-camera studio setup that was invented, I guess, by Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz back in the day. But it was the 70s version of that. They did a great job in the show in the early seasons. If you're aficionado, as maybe I was, the early seasons not in front of an audience and no laugh track, I think. I could be wrong about the laugh track, but definitely not shot in front of an audience and maybe even shot on film. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch Happy Days episode, like season 1, episode 1, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I distinctly recall a scene where Richie is taking a shower and talking to his dad about something. Of course, Rich is on the other side of a shower curtain. You don't see him. And his father, and the whole room is filled with, and then he finishes the shower and his father hands him a towel. Kind of weird. And he comments like, why do you use such hot water? Nothing to do with really the dialogue of the scene, but I don't know. I always remember that moment. Airplane, hang on. Helicopter, sorry. Richie's brother, exactly, Mark. Richie's brother was there for the first 2 or 3 seasons too, and then just written out of the show. They never really talked about it, did they? Did they allude to him going into the army or something? Right? Didn't they say that he he went into the, and what was her name? I forgot his name. I think they may have alluded to him going somewhere, army, college, something. I don't know, but he was gone too. Anyway, we're digressing, guys, and you're helping me. All you people are going, oh, let's talk about Happy Days. We can if you want, but we're talking about cool. Okay, so Fonzie was cool. His name was Bob. All right. Whole show on Happy Days. We probably could. Leather Tuscadero was played by Susie Quattro. Yeah, and that started a whole trend in sitcoms in general. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check it out. There was a trend in the mid 70s after Happy Days or during concurrently to Happy Days where there was a character like Fonzie. It was a Fonzie-like character. And those kind of characters existed for the longest time, man. Family Ties. Remember the girl that Justine Bateman, the boy that she dated? He was a Fonzie type character. Chachi, Fonzie's cousin, was a Fonzie type character, and there became this thing where they all had their gimmick, whether it was doing this, slapping their leg and pointing like Pinky Tuscadero or whatever the hell she did, or whatever Leather Tuscadero did. It got a little ridiculous when TV producers and creators just got so obsessed with this one idea. We got to have this character that's cool. They got to have this thing that they say, whether it's whoa or whatever Vinnie Barbarino said, because he was the Fonzie type character. And about Cotter, see, there you go. Had to have it. Again, we can go down this rabbit hole if you guys want. Personal comfort, and if you have faith in one's own skills and abilities. Cool. Oh, there you go. Oh, Gary, is that a Webster, or is that just you, Gary? Cool is a matter of personal comfort and confidence if you have faith in one's own skills and abilities. I like that. Let's go from that definition. Okay, I'm going to ignore the chat just for a second because I'm getting really distracted. So Fonzie was cool, and I like Gary's definition of it. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, because it is chilly out this morning, although the sun has finally crested through the top of the roof here. Not through the roof, just over the roof. So you'll see the sun slowly come across my face here in a second. And it would seem that after Happy Days and after that, well, it's completely reasonable to ask that if people of a certain generation, my generation, would have even had the word cool in our vernacular. Now, it already existed. Stay cool, be cool. It comes up in West Side Story. Boy, crazy boy, be cool. Boy, the idea of cooling down and being cool meant to not get angry, not get upset, not to be, not to panic, really. And it wasn't, at least I think for me as a kid, and for probably a lot of you guys on the chat here of a certain age, the Fonzie character changed that. It didn't just mean not to panic. It meant to have some other, almost otherworldly level of, as Gary said, self-confidence in one's own abilities. Oh, big old burp there. But even something almost mythically beyond that, right? Something, a certain level of attraction, really. A cool person is an attractive person. A cool person somehow walks above the rest of us. Not necessarily in a vile way. Fonzie was never depicted. He was always depicted as the hero. He was always the good guy. He always had his veggies. He thanked Mrs. C for the veggies. Very respectful of Mr. and Mrs. C. Why did he talk like he's from Brooklyn when he lived clearly in Milwaukee, Wisconsin? No one ever knew, but that's the rules. And for a while there, and this is another little pop culture thing that I'm going to observe here that I think a lot of you can relate to. That was the beginning of quote unquote cool people talking not quite all perfect. Cool people are always depicted talking not, a little lower in their, whatever they were, whether it was movie, TV, cartoon, whatever. The cool character, if you had to have a cool guy or girl, they never spoke in a very clear voice. Hey, I'm the cool character in the show or movie. No, they were the one that spoke a little dumb almost. How's it going? Good to see you. To the point where it's still going on today. Yeah, look at pop culture, man. Look at any time a certain person gets interviewed. I won't name any famous people, but you all know who I'm talking, various people I may be talking about, because there's a lot of them out there. They get interviewed, they're actors, they're rock stars, what have you, and they sit down to an interview, and they don't speak like the way I'm speaking right now. If you were to say, "So, Brian, tell me about your latest project." Yeah, well, it's a lot of good stuff there. The director, I never worked for Bob Wilson before. He's really like his work, right? Be honest. When I just did that rang a bell in most of your heads because it's still in there. It's still in our bloodstream, collective bloodstream, and I believe it all comes down from Fonzie. And in fact, I know that culture in general knows that idea of talking, let's just call it talking dumb, is somehow perceived as cool because there was a commercial. The More You Know PSA commercial. I recall, maybe a few of you do, where it showed a bunch of really attractive people kind of leaning against things and shot very MTV style. And they're all kind of going, and one starts to talk, goes, blah, blah, blah. And then camera goes to a really hot lady looking very cool. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then this guy walks in with, I think, a leather jacket, looking like the coolest one in the room. And he goes straight to the camera and says, "Hey, acting dumb doesn't make it cool. Read a book," or something like that. And that was the media's observation that, yeah, we've kind of created a whole generation of people that were, the cool one, the one that is not the quote unquote nerd, is probably not so educated, and we got to show that a little bit. Revenge of the Nerds, right? That the whole nerd concept, which also, by the way, pretty much created by Days. Maybe Happy Days did more harm than good, is what I guess I'm trying to say. That never occurred to me till just now. I guess maybe. Of course, now the idea of nerd just means somebody who's really into something. And nerd culture is the culture that's done it and awesome for all of us nerdy types. And it's funny in a way because there's been even a little blowback from that. There's a great episode about that on Silicon Valley. Go check it out, where the lead character, played by Thomas Middleditch, gets upset with a good-looking guy that looks like he played lacrosse in college. I think he did, and all that. Beautiful, very cool guy who is trying to get into the tech world, and the character, I can't remember the name of that character, the one played by Middleditch, the main character in Silicon Valley, gives him a little tirade, kind of like, I guess I didn't do it just then, but about, no, you can't have this. This is, tech is us. It's guys like me. You had your chance. You go away. And it was very cathartic for a lot of people, I'm sure. And it may have offended some people, but who gives a shit? So yeah, the existence of cool in general, nerds rule the world now. They do. The candy is good. Fonzie was a tough hero, not necessarily smart, with a heart of gold. Gary again coming to us today with the well put together ideas. Fonzie stood up for the common man and protected the weak. Very good. We're still trying to drill down on cool for the thing that I wanted to bring up about it, but this is great. I love that we're having this conversation. So we all understand what we mean by cool. And we know that in pop culture, the cool character was and still is to this day, depicted as a mumbly talking guy. You want to know what I'm talking about? Watch every interview with I can't think of their names now. Some actors and rock stars. You all know. And what I just said, I think landed with you. You're all smart folks. You've seen people who backstage, out of frame of a camera. They probably speak the way I'm speaking to you guys right now. But boom, you put the interview camera on. Yeah, man. Slash. Almost every rock star, Johnny Depp, all these actors and people, whenever they want to be depicted as cool, they. But fortunately, there's enough witty, charming people out there that can speak very intelligently and still be cool, like Robert Downey Jr., most of the Marvel guys, because they, of course, very deeply steeped in nerd culture. So I don't know if they were told not to do the opposite, but maybe they were said, hey, maybe now's not the place to be cool actor guy. Just be happy to be here, because the people that are asking you questions here at Comic-Con, which just happened last week, or I guess still going up here in LA, they want to see the real person, the real McCloy, So in a way, coolness may be on the way out. You know, we talked about that last night on Bad Advice. If you weren't there, the topic of, I guess, millennial culture being not as much into nudity. Playboy changing its whole uh, what it shows. It doesn't show completely nude women anymore. Check it out. And I think, and which, in good or bad, whatever you judge on your own on that case. There's obviously, because of the internet, it's very easy to sue people, right? We don't need to worry about this too much at all, guys. Let me hit this really quick. Let me hit cancel on that. Okay, cool. So I'm going to speak up a little bit because I'm seeing that my little technical readout at the bottom of the screen is not showing, but you guys are all hearing me, so I guess we're doing okay. Yeah, James Bond, an old school cool. Exactly. What I want to get into is, because this is my Patreon, and of course, these videos I do for you in the coffee, we talk about me a lot. Sound is fit 5x5. Thanks, Clay. There's Clay using a cool term. 5x5. Entertainers, I guess there's an expectation of us being cool. And by us, I'm including myself because I need to relate to you why I brought this subject up. So yes, am I Johnny Depp? No. Am I that famous? No. When I went to go see Book of Mormon the other day, and this is another reason why I brought this subject up with the girls. Did I mention it to you guys last night? I don't think I did. Corden was there with his family and some friends. James Corden of The Late Late Show, a British guy, big fan of musicals, of course, was in that filmed version of Into the Woods, right? He played the baker. If you don't know who I'm talking about, guys. And Johnny Depp. So, and of course, LA. There's an unwritten rule in LA that for those of us that live here, because you see famous people from time to time, you don't bother them. You try not to. You don't ask. People still do. But there's almost this, yeah, okay, 3 tables over there, Sam Jackson and his wife having dinner at the Italian restaurant where you and your wife are. Great. That's it. You're going to walk by and say, hey, Sam, like your work, and then keep walking, or something like that, or keep it cool or chill. There's that word, cool, right? You want to be cool. You don't want to be the slathering fan. Eventually, enough people in the room. Now, of course, I'm at the Pantages Theater, which is about I don't know how big that venue is, several thousand. It's a beautiful Broadway. It's a huge theater. Place was pretty packed. I don't know if it's sold out, but pretty damn close. People started to recognize him, and a few people went up and did a selfie. He's one person. And of course, they were literally, there's that, right across the aisle from where myself, my daughter, my wife are sitting. I'm here looking at you. James Corden is about 8 feet away. So he's occupying the aisle, kind of doing the celebrity thing. People are walking up. He's talking to them. And as is always the case, and it's always very funny, he looks and sounds exactly like he looks and sounds, which is, I've always found it funny that people say that. Oh my God, you look just like you do on TV. Well, yeah, that's how this works. You sound just like it. He's English. He knew the thing, which I do sometimes when I'm asked to pose with people. Now, I can relate to what James Corden was going through on a much, much smaller level. And I'm guys, I'm not bringing this up to aggrandize my view. You guys know that. Just because it does relate to my career as a blue-collar entertainer. So James Corden is saying yes to people that want selfies. He says, hand me your phone, I'll do it. He knows how to do it well. He knows how to frame himself. Of course, he probably got taught this by his publicist. Make sure you control the image. Make sure you look cool in the image and all that. And of course, always shoot down. Better than shooting up. You guys know that. Even though right now I'm looking down because of our tech glitch. And he was very charming with everybody. And one thing I noticed about him is he didn't seem to try to be playing the cool guy. Now, he could have. He was the most famous person in the room, although it was Hollywood, so I didn't notice anybody else's, but, Johnny Depp could have been in the room. I mean, I guess he lives in France, but you guys get the idea. Okay. Well, he lives in Italy or Switzerland, where the hell. You guys get the idea. I didn't see anybody else. And I don't know when celebrities come to a place like that, if they quickly confine everybody with their celebrity radar and go, okay, where do I fit on the, and does it matter? I don't know. But he was not trying to be cool. As a guy who sometimes in his life professionally has to act cool to make comedy work, to make my stage persona work, to make the interactions that I do with people after shows work, I can tell when somebody is working it, and I can tell when somebody is not. And to his credit, man, he was just a guy. He knew why you knew him. He knew he was famous. He knew why you wanted the picture with him. He's more than happy to oblige. And then he changed almost always immediately. I heard him make the subject about the show. People were saying, I love you. You're great. And he go, yeah, it's great. Is this your first time seeing Book of Mormon? And they go, oh, yes. He go, oh, it's wonderful. During intermission, he did a few more. Or before the show, it's all, I see it 10 times. It's great. It's great. Or whatever he said. And to his credit, he wasn't trying to be cool. Now, I didn't speak to him. I wanted to, and I always kind of want to talk to famous people, but I kind of also follow that rule of let's not interject. I don't know. I feel uncomfortable about it. I know that he may feel uncomfortable about it, although probably not. He seemed very, there's the word again, cool about it. He did a good job. Now, to me, when you have a job, artist of any kind, streamer, live performer, comedian, rock star, talk show host, our culture is such that it venerates that. That's not the right word. It puts on a pedestal people in that culture, in that world. Do we deserve it? Question mark, ... Probably not. I mean, it's just, we tend to admire things that we see a lot, and then we build them up. Hence iconic monuments, right? If your first time going to Paris and seeing the Eiffel Tower is probably a big deal. Your first time going to Disney World and seeing Cinderella's castle is probably a big deal because you've seen that thing 1,000 times. You've seen that person 1,000 times. With an artist, with a performer, it's kind of like seeing the Eiffel Tower, except you're watching somebody usually command the space. On that pinnacle pyramid of commanding the space, rock star. Okay, you meet Dave Grohl, when you meet Mick Jagger, when you meet Pete Townsend, you're seeing somebody who is being seen is the most important person in the room, commanding the space, totally not looking flustered or out of it, and looking, and there's the word, come back to it, guys, cool. Okay. Now, that's kind of comes with the territory of doing the job. Again, since I do the job as well, not at the level of James Corden, of course, I can still see the person do the job of commanding the space. He's great. Use him as an example. He's very, very talented. He knows how to command the room. He knows how to be charming on camera. Not the easiest thing to do, I've discovered over the past several years. It takes some work. And he turns it on when he needs. When he's seen not at work at the Pantages Theater and in the audience of Book of Mormon, he's just a regular guy, or at least he came across as a regular guy. Now, that could have been him working really hard at it to be the regular guy. He didn't choose to be the cool guy. But we know from experience there is this certain, and by we, I mean performer types, artist types. I'm sure if James Corden were here talking to me, he'd probably agree with me, that there's certain times where you turn that cool on. People want to meet you. As you guys know, a lot of you have met, and that's how you've involved yourself here with me here on Patreon and stuff like that. Although because of these coffee videos and stuff, a lot of you get, that's why I was going to play The Real Me this morning. I'll try to get it but I got to get, it's The Real Me. There's a different guitar tuning. I got to have this on I think the 5th fret or something. But I learned it way back in the day, and I've since forgotten it. So I'll spend the rest of today and tomorrow practicing The Real Me. So if I play The Real Me, opening the show, or at least in the top 5 songs tomorrow night, you'll know that, okay, Brian, he worked really hard to play this song. Scott Baio was on a TV show. Yes, he was Chachi. Mentioned that a fan asked if he used the bathroom. He left it off, but leave it. Yeah, there you go. There is that too. There is that fascination with seeing James Corden equal to you. And that was the other interesting thing about a star sighting here in Los Angeles or anywhere, Chicago, Florida, there's celebrities everywhere. They're not just here, guys. You know that. But there is this kind of fascination, stuff in my toque, of there's, major talk show host who bought the same ticket I bought. In fact, I bought better tickets than him. I'm on this side of the aisle. I got him for free. I don't know. Whereas he's a little more on the wings. And there's that fascination. Like the thing that Gary just said about Scott Baio being asked if they go to the bathroom. Now, that's a stupid question, but when you meet somebody famous, you might be flustered, especially if it's somebody you really admire. If I were to be face-to-face with Pete Townsend, I'd probably faint. I'd go, I'd become Chris Farley. May he rest in peace, the late great Chris Farley, with his interview show on Saturday Night Live, where he'd have somebody across from him, and he'd totally nerd out when he had Paul McCartney sitting there, who was being charming and nice. You're Paul McCartney. Of course, then he looks at the camera and goes, Paul McCartney. Well, he wouldn't say fucking, but you get the idea. So you made the White Album, right? Yeah, I wrote music on the White Album. That's awesome. Which is probably what I'd be to Pete Townsend. So you wrote Who's Next, right? Yeah, I wrote Who's Next. It's freaking awesome. You wrote Quadrophenia, right? Yeah. I'm trying to play the real me. It's hard. That's awesome. So as an artist, now I'm going to start speaking from myself. Okay, guys, we've talked about the nature of cool, what we're talking about. I'm going to talk about myself here a bit, not an ego thing. I got to decide. One is people want you to be cool, and they want you to be the guy you are on stage right here in front of you during a post-show meet and greet, whether it's at a Ren Fair or at a theatrical event that I do occasionally, or corporate thing. Corporate things are weird. I haven't done one in a long time, years. I'm just out of that world. I used to do them. I get hired and you do a gig. And then afterwards, if you did well, which I didn't always do well in that environment, they want to come up and shake your hands and stuff, take pictures with you. And you're busy usually trying to get your gear out of there so the DJ can set up, because after the variety artists, that's when they usually open the dance floor. So you're just trying to get the hell out of there and back to your car or your hotel room if you're spending the night. Again, not a lot of experience in that world. I have friends that's all they do, and they love it. So good for them. Slippers. So when the show is over, on stage, and we've talked about that, you're commanding the stage, whether or not your stage persona is the nerdy guy. A lot of clown performer friends of mine, their character is a befuddled buffoon, but of course, they're still in control of the space. You guys know what I'm talking about there. Some people might be the cool guy. My stage persona is kind of the cool guy. I told you about years ago when I was really nerding out about performing with a friend of mine. And we were talking about various people's stage personas. And he said, yours, Brian, is your stage persona is the coolest guy in the room. I went, okay. And I've run with that. It takes work, and I've gotten better at it. It doesn't come naturally. I am not the coolest guy in the room. The other day at that party, which I also, I think, told you guys about it last night, we went to a friend's house, a new friend, really. We met a lot of new, wonderful friends, and they apparently used to have these kind of parties 5-6 times, or maybe every other month or whatever. And they haven't had one since COVID, and we were invited. It was like a hootenanny thing and we kind of want to do it here at the house too. You have your friends over, and everybody, you don't have to, is requested to do a little number. And our family did Snowman, which we talked about this last night on Bad Advice. But I will talk about my energy when I come into the room. Now, of course, I'm imposing when I come in at my height. So I can diffuse that with a joke. The first thing everybody's going to say to me is, boy, you're tall. And of course, I went in there and everybody I met said, boy, you're tall, or you must be Tallulah's father, because Tallulah was, of course, the tallest kid there. Yes. Oh, I can see where Tallulah gets her height. Yes. Now, I'm not a performer right now. I'm not a performer right now. I'm just a guy at the party. My social anxiety, which I still have, guys, says to me, everybody else is cool. Everybody is cool, and I am not. Isn't that weird? I know, it's weird. When I go on stage, I don't have stage fright. I absolutely have no problem walking out there. People applaud for me. I get right into my thing. I'm the coolest guy in the room, which, of course, we've talked about this, guys. You have to be to do the job right. At least I have to be. Is that insecurity? No, it's just being a good performer and knowing how to do the job. Social, regular Brian, not in costume, no stage lights, complete opposite. I walk into the party and I feel honored to be around what I perceive as cool people. Cool mom, cool dad, cool job, cool house. And these people had a very cool house. Turns out the dad and the mom were both performer types back in the day. I think they have quote unquote regular jobs now, but back in the day, they were, I think the dad still had an agent, Hollywood, of course. What have you been in that I've seen? Of course, he couldn't really name anything. He'd been in plenty of little small things that the regular blue collar working actors out here in LA do. Remember, a lot of the people out here in LA that make a living as actors can walk right past you on the street and you probably won't recognize them. Or you'll go, you get a lot in LA, a lot of that. Tom Cruise, of course, you go, oh my God, Tom Cruise. But if it's just some guy, Joe Blow, who, of course, was on an episode of a Chicago Fire last month, you're going to go, oh, And Joe Blow's just going to get his kid from his school. He's going to go get the car wash. He's got tickets to go see Book of Mormon tonight. And that's the weird culture that we live in out here. So I get off stage. Now, granted, I'm still a cool guy for a while. Depends on the offstage vibe. I don't know. This is a subject that comes up a lot on these coffee videos. My uncomfortableness with that, very much my Neil Peart way of dealing with it. For all you Rush fans, may he rest in peace. Way of dealing with that. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole again. Right now, we're just applying the idea of cool to it. Okay. Now, no doubt, I walk off stage. Hope if I did my job well during the show, people probably still perceive me as cool guy. Am I cool in real life? I don't. Going by Gary's very early definition from way back, okay? That great quote you put up there, Gary. In a performing environment, even out on stage, I think maybe I do come across as cool, and maybe I am, because I am confident in my abilities. I am not at all nervous about doing the job well, at all. So I would say, yeah, by Gary's early definition, I am, at least at work, a cool guy. Personal life, whole different other ball of wax. Now, when I get off stage, I'm cool for a while. And I wonder what the audience want. Do they want me to be cool? Or do they want me to, like James Corden at Book of Mormon the other night, do they want me to be real, just regular guy? And I never know where they want me to be. Now, as I'm not even looking at the chat, but maybe a few of you are observing some comments there. It's not up to them. Maybe one of you already said, and if you didn't, I'll say it for you. Brian, it's not up to them. It means at that point, you don't owe them that character of being that cool guy. You can be yourself. Okay, myself is still funny. I can still be chatty, as you guys know by watching these videos, and I'll go on and on if you want. Just without that inner self-confidence that makes the cool guy work out on stage. Now, in this, I guess, postmodern, post-revolution, whatever you want to call it, there was a time when entertainment and art, and I'm going to get very deep on you guys. Do your best to follow along because of my typical style. I'm going to get distracted. I'm going to speak in word salad, but hopefully the idea will come across. We are in a postmodern era of art and entertainment, in that art and entertainment and culture in general has begun to observe itself. I don't know exactly when it happened, probably before I was, maybe after, I don't know, maybe during the 60s. I don't know. What I mean by that is as follows. Back in the day, a painting was a painting of a barn. An actor was playing Shakespeare. I am doing Shakespeare. I'm a musician. I am playing the guitar. I'm recorded onto a phonograph record. There you go. Then there was a point where art started to be able to observe itself and then comment on itself within the art. I read a great article about this, guys, and I really wish I had the link to it because I want you guys to read it, because a guy that a much smarter person than me was able to observe what I'm trying to explain to you and how it relates to cool. We'll get back to that in a second. He called it the revolution, the guy that wrote this article. And what he meant by that was there are people that are still, I get, it's better if I give you an analogy or in a comparison to tell you what I'm talking about. A pre-revolution art and post-revolution art. And he was mostly talking about entertainers, comedians, musicians, actors, what have you. Okay. And it's a good example to use comedians, I think. I just think. Okay. A pre-revolution comedian would be, I'm trying to think of somebody famous enough that we all know that we can all relate to. Okay, maybe that's a bad example. I just realized that's a bad example. Oh, well, let's do a rock star. Pre-revolution rock or act would be anything that like the late 50s, early 60s. Bill Haley and the Comets. Buddy Holly is a pre-revolution rock star. He's going to do his thing. The revolution of perception, and again, I told you this is going to be word salad a lot, hadn't happened yet. Post-revolution rock star, a Weezer. Okay, a band often called ironic. Irony, a big part of post-revolution entertainment. Being aware of the ridiculousness of oneself. There you go. I couldn't think of a pre-revolution comedian, but I can certainly give you tons of post-revolution comics. Zach Galifianakis, anybody that plays here in LA at the Largo, that whole hipster, very dry deconstructionist style. Sarah Silverman, very, very post-revolution comedian. So there you go. Sarah Silverman, let's use her. She's a great example. We all know who she is. We know who Zach Galifianakis is as well. These are here comes the sun, guys. These are post-revolution comedians. Now, the post-revolution thing that the guy wrote about in the article, how I'm going to relate it back to being cool and what cool means for an artist. See, don't worry, I am not lost. It may seem like I am. You may have to replay this video several times, but I am not lost. I'm almost lost. Post-revolution art is aware of itself. It's willing to comment on itself, and it's willing to deconstruct the structure that holds it up in the middle of it. And of course, we all know hopefully we all know the people in the Renaissance Fair who I'm talking about. I'm not the only one, but there's a few post-revolution artists in the Renaissance Fair world. I'm obviously, and again, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but for the sake of what we're talking about, I'm clearly one of those. Okay. I don't want to insult anybody by saying who would be a pre-revolution Renaissance Fair performer, but I think you get the idea of what I'm getting at. I use myself as an example there, and Sarah Silverman and Weezer in terms of like a ironic rock band. Certainly they might be giants. There we go. Another band that is clearly post-revolution, clearly able to take everything about what it means to record and play music live and just both be self-referential, self-observant, not take itself too seriously. And of course, irony is a big part of that. Okay, so why did I bring that up about the pre and post-revolution in culture? Eartha Kitt, pre-revolution. There you go. St. Vincent, post-revolution. There you go. Madonna, pre-revolution. Yeah, she is. Billie Eilish, post-revolution. See, the more examples I give, the more you're going to see, oh, I'm starting to get what you see what I'm saying? Okay. Beyonce, still pre-revolution, even though she's current. See, it had nothing to do with when you started performing. It has to do with how you present yourself. And Beyonce is still, for the most part, presenting herself like Tina Turner, who would be pre-revolution as well. Along with that, by the way, and please don't think that anytime I say that somebody's pre-revolution, it means that they're bad. It does not. It just means a different, how culture has had this revolution, as this guy talked about this article. I really got to find that article and hopefully drop it in as its own post. When I'm done today, I got some errands to run. I'm going to quickly get online and find an article about pre and post-revolution art and culture. Hopefully I'll find it. Okay. Why am I bringing that up? To relate it back to cool. Post-revolution may not anymore, at least, and it happened in my lifetime, have a place for cool. Remember what I said about the Marvel actors earlier in this video, who usually go on interview shows not wrapped up in that must be cool Hollywood guy too much. I think a big part of that was because they know their audience. They know their audience, for the most part, in nerd culture, are people that aren't going to appreciate somebody to try to be cool in their presence. Okay? You're talking about people who will more than happily dress up, go to the Comic-Con, go to the Renaissance Fair, and love and have no problem if somebody has a hard time with that, which relates a lot back to a lot of you folks and myself. We know each other from the Renaissance Fair world. Is the Renaissance Fair world pre or post-revolution? It's pre-revolution. It is. But the attitude of the fun people who just come there dressed in rather authentic stuff, or as Star Trek people or stormtroopers, is very post-revolution. They don't care. They're fine with it. Hollywood, of course, still has a hard time depicting Renaissance fairs because Hollywood is stuck in a pre-revolution mindset. Whenever Renaissance fairs are brought up, they're never depicted as cool. We all know that. We all live through it. I work there. I come across pretty cool. You guys, you have a good time. You're cool in your own little way. If we want to apply that word, maybe we don't want to anymore. Maybe there's another word. I don't know. Confident and just in ourselves having fun. Going back to Gary Paul's original definition. So Gary, have that queued up. We might want to see it again. So current culture is getting in a way beyond that. Hollywood is being kicking and screaming, coming along, at least when it depicts things that can be depicted as not cool. Hollywood appears to still want to say, we are cool, this thing isn't. And why they tend to depict Renaissance fairs as being just a bastion of nerds and losers and what have you. And of course, we know that that's not true. It's mostly people that are very confident in themselves. In fact, what I've noticed, and I've made jokes about it on stage, maybe you've heard me do that, I can always spot the person in the audience who isn't in costume, who is going there and probably thinking in their head, I'm the coolest person here. It's going to be a bunch of nerds. And I don't bother them. They're having their day, and let them do it. I'm not there to ruin their day, but I'll certainly make a joke about it if the person, I get a vibe from them where they're holding back, or I'll find a way of teasing them a little bit to get them to loosen up. So that person I just mentioned is going there with that pre-revolutionary concept of I'm the cool one in the environment, and I'm going to be surrounded by a bunch of nerds, myself included. So I guess to start heading towards summing up here, guys, is even a thing anymore. I would like to say in the post-revolutionary concept of entertainment, hope that made sense to you guys. I think my examples probably did a better job than my description of it. I'm not a very good writer. It may be waning. The idea of that may be waning. The need to do it. Lenny Kravitz, for example, is a guy who never leaves his house without looking top to bottom like the coolest person in the world. I saw him and his daughter, who of course is a singer too, and actor and what have you. No, she's an actor, right? They were on one of the late night guys show, maybe James Corden. I don't remember which one. And it was they were playing a game, a charades-y type game. A lot of late night guys are doing games now. I've given my opinion on that. I think they're charming. They can be fun. For a guy that puts a shot collar on his neck once a week, I shouldn't judge, but I kind of miss when Johnny Carson would just sit there and talk with somebody for 20 minutes, and it was funny and charming and witty. But whatever. What's in the box, right? Jimmy Fallon, sorry. Kimmel, to his credit, not as many games. He does do the games, not as many. Fallon is the game guy, and James Corden. Okay, so what was I saying there? Oh, Lenny Kravitz. So they're doing like a game, one of those silly games, and it's Lenny Kravitz, who, much in the example of him, Johnny Depp, all the other examples he gave of people that are net slash who always have to maintain that cool, and you can sense that they're working hard to maintain it. I thought, well, how's this going to go? Because this idea, and it was a charades thing about song titles. And of course, Lenny Kravitz, when he had to give one of the songs water, it was one of his songs, so which was kind of funny. It was charades, I guess, but only with song titles. Now, if you're going to play a party game like charades, you're going to want to have some silly people that are willing to look silly. By definition, the cool person by the pre-revolution, let's put pre-revolution on this side of the screen. By the pre-revolution definition of cool, we'll take it all the way back to Fonzie, guys. Fonzie never hurried. He never ran. He never looked flustered. He never looked vulnerable. He never had vulnerability. Could Fonzie, in the classic way that Henry Winkler played him way back in the day, have played charades? Probably not. Can you see Fonzie going, movie? Okay. 2 words. Sounds like, no. You can see Richie and Potsy and Ralph Malph and Joni and Chachi. Well, I mean, not Chachi, but you're not going to see Fonzie, Pinky Tuscadero, Leather. Yes. Okay, bird. God, this bird comes every day and screams until Maria feeds him. Okay, there's the food. Where the hell is he? So Fonzie is not playing charades. So Lenny Kravitz is playing this game. And I watched and I observed, and it was interesting. We watched it on YouTube. The kid queued it up. I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. I didn't say anything to my daughter. I just observed it. To his credit, he dropped the veneer a bit. He allowed himself to be vulnerable, to laugh when something funny happened. That's another thing. When you're cool, you rarely show yourself laughing big. Have you noticed that? That's the other cool thing. Watch John sometimes on a panel TV show, and you'll see him doing the whole, doesn't want to laugh too much. And I mentioned his name a few times, and I'm not coming down on him like, oh, he's a good actor. Great. Awesome. But absolutely an icon of cool, and clearly appears to know that that's his job. Even though we've all seen him play characters which you would say are not cool. We saw him play Willy Wonka with a funny voice and the weird teeth and the goofy haircut. We know he can be this other person. Who is the real Johnny Depp? You start to wonder after a while. Or Lenny Kravitz, or any of these people that are keeping cool going. Who is the real Fonzie? Because isn't cool something that maybe you put on? Is it? I don't know. Maybe it is. It is for me. It's a jacket that I wear. It's a leather jacket that I wear as I'm water skiing and jumping over the shark. That's true, Gary. She did train that damn bird. Lucy, chill out. Lucy knows the bird's up there. So let's sum up, guys. What do we talk about today? We're talking about cool, the idea of what cool is. Try to find it. I think we defined it pretty well. And then we went on to talk about how it exists in culture and what audiences expect of artists and how much an artist needs to be cool, how much cool is thrust upon them just organically by the nature of how you see the artist. When I see James Corden across the aisle from me at the theater, he seems cool to me because he's famous and he's in control of the room, even though his on-camera persona, I think we can all agree, is not, Mr. Cool Guy. To talk about any of the late night guys, the current late night guys, I'd say the only one who's on screen presence is the coolest guy in the room is probably Jimmy Kimmel. And before him, it was David Letterman. Jay Leno, I don't think ever established being the cool guy on camera. He was just Jay Leno. But Dave Letterman came across as cooler than even the medium that he was in. And arguably, let's go back to our little revolutionary thing, David Letterman, post-revolution. Okay. Johnny Carson, pre-revolution. There you go. There's a good example. There's a great example right there. Probably the best one to go back to that whole revolution and culture thing, guys. Johnny Carson, Jack Paar, Jack Benny, any other host of a Dick Cavett, pre-revolution. Letterman on post-revolution. Although some of the current guys have gotten into doing silliness like Jimmy Fallon, maybe even backing up back over that line. Whereas Jimmy Kimmel, I think, is probably on this side of it. Probably. Again, nothing wrong with what side of that line you're on. Please don't share this video and say, look at this asshole. I'm just a guy making an observation. And it wasn't my observation. I read that article. I think it was in the Washington Post. No, it was in, I don't know. I read it online, but at WAPO, Washington Post. Just say Washington Post. Okay, so we talked about pre and post revolution and what the nature of cool was in both those situations. Now, I, as you guys know, try not to mock too many people online or in social media. You know, that's not my job, but I will occasionally take people down a notch. And we've done a whole video about why I do that and what my goal is. It's to make people all equal. Let's all be equal. And the only way we're all going to be equal is if we all laugh at ourselves. And boom, there's the line. It's creative. We're all right on it. So I love it whenever I get a rare opportunity, and I'll let my wit fly, and I'll be a little caustic and abrasive, but hopefully get a laugh as well at even somebody even trying to be ironic, which I guess is post-revolution's attempt at cool, going back to the idea of Weezer. Weezer often as a band is called an ironic band in many ways. Rivers Cuomo is always quoted as saying he doesn't know what people mean by that, but let's be honest, it's pretty obvious that's how they naturally are. And in his defense, maybe is how they naturally are, and it's not an attempt. But you write enough songs that are about small little quirky things, and you present yourself as quirky type people, you know, it's gonna come across as an attempt at irony. Which I guessed is the post-revolutionary definition of cool. There you go. If you're post-revolutionary and ironic, that is the modern cool in many ways. It's not the talking like this. WAPO, Washington Post, Gary. People in the press will say that a lot. And I'm from Maryland, so WAPO was the paper that we would have. And people, not everybody that way, but every now and then somebody says it that way. So is there cool anymore? There is. Lenny Kravitz, of course, we talked about this. Johnny Depp. These people are undeniably cool. They're not cool just because we see them playing the part of cool. I don't think. I think they're still cool. Are you? Yeah, I don't really. I'm 58 minutes in. I don't have time to go off on another subject here. Cool still exists, but I think in this post-revolutionary millennial level of entertainment, it's not revered as much. And in fact, in many ways, it's torn down when it can be. That's why you'll see a lot of artists these days walk a very fine line. They want to be themselves. They want to be relevant. They want to impress the audience so that they'll buy their albums and buy tickets to their shows and all their merchandise, whatever it is. But they don't want to be so cool that they're alienating that young culture, which I think in many ways doesn't seem to really revere it the way maybe my generation did. My daughter and her friends, I don't notice any of them putting out that energy when I'm eavesdropping on them, which I always am. They're in the other room, but I'm still listening. And I'll notice that they're just being kids. You know, there's no one person sticking out as the cool guy. Hey, shut up, Tony, or whatever. Not that they'd have that accent anymore because they can't relate it to Fonzie and how a lot of us older folks can. They're just being kids. And that's, I guess, a good thing. It is a good thing. So cool, whatever path it takes forward, whether it becomes ironic, and that's cool, self-referential, and that's cool, or if we just redefine what cool is. Maybe cool no longer means that totally confident person. And there we go. Gary drops it right on cue, buddy. Cool is being comfortable in your own skin. Don't doubt yourself and do the best you can, as well as being humble about it. There you go. Comfortable in your own skin no longer needs to be like Fonzie, who is comfortable but also dominant. You are the dominant member of the room. Always. The cool person was always depicted in Hollywood as the dominant guy. The nerd was the one over there. The non-cool people were over there, right? TV show, Freaks and Geeks. Look it up. Whole show's about that. So cool is, I think, being redefined. Just being comfortable in your silly costume, dressed like an organ grinder monkey, but I'm totally comfortable in the skin. Is the outfit of my work outfit cool? It is by no means cool. But the fact that I'm totally comfortable in it makes it cool. I don't know. Maybe, right? Maybe that's the new cool. Will there be another rock star like Lenny Kravitz who, can't leave the house without like 90 various affectations on before he just goes down to the corner to buy cigarettes? I don't know. We'll see. There's a band called Starcrawler. Maybe you know them. They little degrees of separation. At least 2 or 3 of them graduated from the same high school my kid currently goes to. They're a couple years removed. I think they graduated 5 years ago or something. They're at least, there's a guitarist in Starcrawler, who wears like those Elvis suits, ironically, right? When he plays those sparkly, rock star suits. The lead singer, of course, is all tricked out and crazy black makeup, and she's rail thin and screaming about really sexy lyrics and stuff. And they appear to be very post-revolutionary, but still trying to make sure they are post-revolutionary. So still trying to be cool, whatever that is. And like Starcrawler and all other artists out there, I think we're all chasing it. We all don't know what it is. To quote, I think an episode of West Wing, but it was about gravitas, but it applies to cool as well. I'll take out the word gravitas and say cool. Even though we tried over the past hour to define and understand cool, it is very difficult. And the quote is as follows: "We may not know how to define cool, but we know it when we see it." And there you go. So thanks for talking with me, guys, about cool. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm so sorry about the technical issues. I don't know what happened. I started streams on this phone, and neither one made it through the internet tubes. It could have something to do with this. Have to be outrageous when she goes out. Does Elton? Yeah, Elton, exactly. Great. Okay, guys. So have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. It is Therapy Tuesday. Don't forget, I don't have my meds out here. I usually take them right in front of you. I have a replacement. I'm going to leave here as soon as I'm off, head to the pharmacy to get my replacement meds. Take care of yourselves. Do not be ashamed of whatever drug you have to take, as long as it's a drug that you're using to enhance and embellish your own efforts to be a good person. Remember, don't rely on the drug. You can make yourself a better person through therapy, through introspection, through sitting here for an hour with your friends, drinking coffee, and letting some guy in a plaid shirt and a toque talk to you about what it means to be cool. Hopefully. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow night for Beer and Songs with Brian. The Beer and Songs request line will go up this afternoon, and I'm going to try to get the really good version of the Who's Quadrophenia, The Real Me. And when I play it tomorrow night, you'll know why, because I'm thinking about what is the real me. Thanks for the applause, Ann. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesdays, guys. I don't have to reach into the screen to end the stream. I can go down here and click this button right here. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. Thanks for having coffee with me. Hey, be cool. Hey.